Hey everybody, it's Andy here at Montonio, and we are back for a vintage prelim today. Trying to get some QPs because we have a vintage showcase and some last chance qualifiers coming up. And I do have enough to play in the showcase this weekend, but I would love the opportunity to play in some last chance qualifiers as well. So I currently have about 60 QPs, so we just really need another 20 if we can go 3-1 today. We can accomplish that. Typically, prelims are really bad EV, but when you are specifically hunting for QBs, they're worthwhile. So we're going to take Cradlevine in again today. I still think this deck is pretty good. It's got good game against everything. I think the only deck that truly scares me right now is Squeevine. I think is a really difficult match, but certainly, it's a winnable one. Not too much to say about my actual list today. This is relatively stock. I am going to continue to try the Bloodghast. Most people are running two. I have eschewed to play none for the majority of my time playing Cradlevine, but I'm going to give one a go here and see if it's relevant. I think the true selling point of this deck is not having anything that interacts with the graveyard outside of the Benjamine, and when people side in graveyard hate against you, it's just a strict win. All that said, I have made a couple changes to the sideboard. I am highlighting a couple Caracases today. We really maybe only need one, but I am going to try two. And with the rise of Atraxa, I think that that gives us an out to Atraxa and all of the other legends that are problematic. You know, Shieldred, Ragavan is not as much of a problem for this deck because we've got the Root Wallas to block it, but being able to remove those. Um, uh, all sorts of legends. I'm drawing blanks, but those seem to be the big ones that seem to be a problem. Thalia is obviously something that I would expect to see in the Vintage Showcase this weekend, as I'm sure people will be playing White Initiative or Blue-White Initiative. So something to think about. And I'm going to run a Grafdigger's Cage. This is something I did at Vintage Champs last year. People don't expect Grafdigger's Cage out of a Bazaar deck. We don't really interact with the graveyard outside of the mines, and I do expect to see some Oath of Druids and, you know, what's good against Dredge breach strategies, and I am ready for combo with the Mindbreak Traps. I am playing only one Dismember at the expense of that second Caracas, so we'll see how I feel about that after this prelim today, but this is what we're going to bring in, and if you haven't done so, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button, and feel free to leave any comments, and we're going to see you in round one. Okay, guys, here we are in round one of our Vintage Prelim. Sandy Dog last was playing mono white initiative, and unfortunately they've won the die roll. So that could be problematic for us, but our hand looks pretty darn good otherwise. So not much we can do about it. We are going to keep this. And we just have to hope that they don't have a crazy start. We can shape our hand up here. Like if we do find something like a Collector Roof 2, that is definitely a possibility for us turn one as well, because we've got the Mox. I think the worst thing that they could do to us here would be um, a turn one Archon. Or an Anointed Peacekeeper could be pretty bad too. So they are going to have the start they're looking for here. Thalia. Okay, so that's not too bad for us. We are going to definitely Once Upon a Time here. That's actually quite disappointing. I'm not sure what we want here. Is it the Yavimaya Cradle of Growth is the best card for us here? I guess we can guarantee, well, we can't actually cast the Hex Drinker with the Mox's turn because Thalia is coming down. Tough call. I'm not really sure what I want here. I think I'm going to take the Yavimaya Cradle of Growth here. A little bit disappointing. Had we hit any other Hollow One or Root Walla, something like that, we would have been in decent shape, but we still have a draw and a Bazaar activation, so let's see what we can find here. Ah, really, really bad. My goodness. Okay. Yeah, really hard for us to win from here. Yeah, the Archon shuts that line off for us now. Okay. So we're going to play our Hollow One. Hopefully they don't have a Solitude, but it's still a very real thing for them to have. We can hardcast a Root Walla next turn if I play a green source. But we can still do that if we play the Yavimaya. So they didn't play a land. I think trying to attack their land here is a reasonable strategy next turn. We can play the Yavimaya and just hardcast the Basking Root Walla, maintaining card equity in our hand. That's, of course, contingent on what we draw. So that's a little bit scary here if they have the Seasoned Dungeoneer. And it looks like they do. So this one is over for us, I think, here. So that strategy is no longer viable because they've got a Plains now. So they found the land at a good time. We're going to attack in. Would be thrilled with a double block, but I don't think that will happen. Jump block, interesting. What does that mean? They just wanted the initiative? I think I can spin here. They have a Plains in hand. I don't think there is benefit in exposing the Avomaya Cradle here. It's obviously disappointing that they found the initiative creature here, but we're going to attempt to take the initiative from them here. Let's see if they go down the Lost Well, or whether they're going to forge. We are in a racing situation here. Okay, they are forging, which makes sense. Yeah, and I can't really profitably attack through Thalia. Hmm. Yeah. I don't really understand the chump block there last turn. I do believe they should have double blocked and killed my hollow one if they were going to do that, but they just were content to maintain the initiative. Because I 100% was killing the seasoned dungeoneer with my hollow one, right? I couldn't kill both. So they should have, it was a very easy double block. I think that was a mistake on Sandy's part. But regardless, they didn't want to give up the initiative, which I think they easily could have. I don't have a basic in my deck, and they're taking it back the following turn. All right. Hmm. So they're going into trap next turn. This is 6. 5 would put me. 6 plus 5 is 11, which put me to 5. I can take the initiative back here. I can pound for 7. Jump block the following turn. I'm going to take this. To be clear, I don't think I'm winning this game by any means. It's heavily skewed to my opponent's favor. The white initiative match is a difficult one, but I do like my chances against the deck. Of course, losing the die roll is very difficult, but this is a little bit of a glass cannon white initiative. If you can disrupt them early on, they can falter. All right. Taking the hit. No reason to wasteland here. My opponent has tons of land. We can't knock them off double white. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's a nice one for my opponent. No wonder they did that line. Okay. Take the initiative. They trap me here. So we can pretty much pack it up here. I think we're dead. We're not going to win this game. Going to bring in a Dismember. I think Endurance is potentially decent in this match to be able to try and steal the initiative from them from underneath their feet. I'm not big on Force of Vigor here, despite they have a lot of fast mana. Do I want Caracas? It could be okay. Don't think Besage is very good. On the draw, I would consider traps. Like having played a moderate amount of white initiative myself, like quite often what they're doing is just belching their hand out turn 1, and whatever the power of that card is, just buys them enough time to be able to find other spells and win the game. And if you can disrupt them, like game 1, for example, they went, well, Mox Thalia, like being able to get a Thalia, despite that's not the card you're typically after, can be pretty good. Now, Thalia does hold my army up here, so maybe there is some merit to a second Caracas. Like, I feel like Mental Misstep is not the best, but So my opponent in their most recent list does run a Tabernacle, which is not the norm out of white initiative deck. So it is possible we get blown out here, but we don't have the luxury of sitting around. We are going to try and win. Maybe we find a Mox as well. I am not going to play around Tabernacle here. I just don't think it's worth it. We also have another Root Walla to be able to try and get the Vine going if we lose it. But not trying to kill your opponent is not a good idea. I think the benefit outweighs the risk here of just going for it. Like if they play a tab, we still have we can still replenish. Despite it's pretty devastating, you have to try and win. Is the way I approach these strategies. Archon gone. Pedal, yep. Thallium, okay. And there's a tab. Yep. Okay. I want to get rid of the endurance here. I think so. So the hard part about this one is if we get wastelanded. I could play Caracas here, make them pay for theirs, and then bounce their Thalia. The risk is that if by me playing the Yavimaya, it turns on their Tabernacle. But I lose one of my 1/1s. I think that's all right. I think I'm willing to do this. And the Yavimaya is the more valuable of the cards here. Question is, do I make them pay for it again? I think I do. I think I just leave it. That's not what I was planning on doing, but I think that's okay. Not bad. I do feel like I bizarre here. And that's why we do it. But the Collector Roof is actually not bad here. Unfortunately, I really need to play the Yavimaya. Okay. Now, if we're left alone with reference to Wastelands, we're going to be able to pay with my Bazaar and my Yavimaya and bounce the Thalia. So my opponent just may let Thalia die here if they feel they have a better option. Let's see. So they figured it out with the Tabernacle. That's very good for them. There is a price with Yavimaya. And this is the worst case scenario, in my opinion, when your opponent has the Tabernacle, one of the better cards against you, turned on for mana. But not much we can do about it. We have to try and deploy our game plan here. Now, hopefully this is not a Seasoned Dungeoneer, but if it is, we're going to get the initiative from them. Well, presumably. If they have a Solitude, that changes things for sure. Yeah, okay. Once upon a time. Okay. They have to block here, and they can trade with my Vine, which is what they have to do here. But this does turn, well, it doesn't turn their Ancient Tomb off, but it gives me the initiative and hurts their chances of taking it next turn. So Yavimaya is coming at a cost in this game. It is, my opponent would not have been able to tap their Ancient Tomb here, but they can actually tap it for green mana, and they're also tapping their Tabernacle. So they have a Solitude here, yep. So I'm officially hellbent. And they were able to keep the initiative as a result of that. So let's see what happens here. I'm in a pretty bad spot. We know one of the cards on their hand is a land, a basic plains. There's Wasteland, okay. Take my Bazaar, that seems reasonable. We know one of them is a Thalia. So the question is do they want to leave their Thalia in play and kill my Caracas or leave me with the Bazaar? And to me, I think it's a no-brainer that it's very dangerous to leave me with a Bazaar here when I have a Vine in my yard. Took the Yavimaya. That was not the option I thought they were going to take. They're at 6 life. Do I just put this Root Wall into play? I believe I do. And if I have to just lose it, so be it. Not optimal. I would have really liked to have hit a land there. I've got to try and take that initiative from them. Go with my creature, yep. Yeah, Archon's a really good one. I'm just going to let my creature die because it's goaded. And I would prefer not to pay for my Caracas here. But if I find a Cradle, I can pump it and take the initiative from them. But I only have one more Yavimaya Cradle of Growth in my deck. Yeah, it's very low prevalence that I will hit it. And the Cradle comes into play tapped. So unfortunately we're losing here, but we're not completely dead. The main issue that I'm running into here is that my opponent is moving towards Throne of the Dead here very quickly. And they're going to have a 4-1 now, which is bad news brown for me. And any land that I play with the Archon will not pump my Root Wall. So they can kind of sit back on defense here. I have to play the Tabernacle tax here. Otherwise, I could do that. Yeah, this one's kind of snuck away from me. My opponent had the big turn one play with the Tabernacle. We had a very strong opener, but it wiped my board. And we've had a really hard time getting back in this game. They had the Solitude as well, so they've had the answers. I wouldn't say I have played a ton versus White Initiative for Cradlevine, but I have played it a number of times, and I feel like I have a fairly reasonable record against it. Like I would say a winning record. Okay, they want to archive. All right. I'm glad they did. They got another one here. Nice. I think in this particular match, it's very vital to win the die roll. That's how I feel about it, because you don't want to be on the draw in game 3 against them. If you can get there. Bizarre, yep. So this one's over for me, I think. They're about to go into the Throne of the Dead here. For those of you who didn't catch the nuance of why I didn't tap my Bazaar in my upkeep there, it's because the Anointed Peacekeeper has put a tax on my Bazaar Baghdad. I need to pay 2 mana in order to tap it. Yeah, so there's Solitude. Okay, guys, we're definitely going to lose this one. We don't have an out. Uh, Opponent really just had the tools that they need, and I mean this deck does have the tools. Having turn 1 Anointed Peacekeepers, turn 1 Archon of Emirias. These cards are all extremely powerful against what my deck is trying to do. This card in particular is absolutely backbreaking, but we didn't win the die roll, and my opponent just had really good hands, and as a result, we were not able to really ever get into any of the games, but well played from the opponent's side, and yeah, we'll see you guys in round 2. Hey everybody, here we are for round 2, and you guessed it. Sorry, not very good content, but we got the bye. And I'm pleased to have the bye because I'll take any win I can get when I'm playing for qualifier points. But that said, obviously, extremely poor content from you guys. So I do apologize about that. But hopefully we can make the next 2 rounds good ones for you. We'll see you then. Okay, guys, here we are in round 3 of our vintage prelim. We've won the die roll. We're playing G Goggles. Haven't seen them in quite some time. I know they have a lot of range, but the last we're playing Bug was a deck that I saw them playing. We have a fairly solid hand here. Hopefully we can find a hollow one. That would be nice. And we did. Take a Bazaar. Ooh. Very powerful start. I haven't had one of these in a while. Hopefully they're not on combo and can just beat the hand. My opponent is not conceded, so they could very well be on combo. They did mulligan, that's the good news. Okay, they did not want to show what they're on. I mean, it's really hard to know, right, from a sideboarding perspective, what I want to be doing. Definitely don't think I want Chalice. Probably cut Bloodghast. Probably cut a couple of these. Maybe bring in an Endurance and a Dismember. Like, maybe I just want the 3rd. I'm not sure really what they're playing here, but why don't we just try something like this, guys? There's no rhyme or reason to my madness here. Like, I think my typical philosophy when I'm sideboarding against a blind deck is first you want to know what the opponent's history is, and they certainly have a history of Bug, but they haven't played in 6 months for any results anyways. And I do know this player is a longtime vintage player on Magic Online, and they definitely have combo in their wheelhouse. I remember them having a lot of success with the early Urza decks, Turbo Urza decks, which is kind of pointing towards wanting Force of Vigor in the deck. Endurance is kind of a catch-all. I know that they also have Bazaar in their wheelhouse, or at least I recall that. We can try Caracas because it's just a good card. And you have to remember with a deck like this from a sideboarding perspective that we still have Bazaar of Baghdad to be able to do the filtering for cards that we don't want. So I think this is reasonable. I mean, I am contemplating, do we want something like Mindbreak Trap, but it's a little less versatile, not really knowing what my opponent's on. So I think I'm going to try this out. Like if they're on Bug, Force of Vigor is a dead card, right? So I don't want to go all in on them. Definitely a mulligan here. We have to go lower. We can't keep that. This is a nice looking hand. I think we can probably put back Caracas. And I think we'll hedge with the oof. Like, oof is not as good against something like bug, whereas hex drinker is very good. But, oh, interesting. Okay. Well, we're going to play Bazaar, and if they have a Tabernacle, I mean, it's a little bit of a blowout, but presuming we hit another creature to be able to animate our vines. Okay, that's very solid. Yep. Hopefully they do not have surgical. That would be pretty devastating, but let's see what they're on. Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm going to play with the cradle here. It's just initiative, eh? Oh, they've got, yeah, that's pretty slick for them. They've got Containment Priest here. Cleric, so they are playing initiative. Well, let's make them have it. Yeah, not optimal, is it? Maybe wanted to keep the other Gaia's Cradle there, but let's see. I guess the big question is, do they have it? Containment Priest. They do. Can't stop that. All right. Well, yeah, Tom's a good one. Okay. I do think I look for a wasteland here. Awkward. Don't like turning that tabernacle on. Let's see if they see it. They didn't see it. Let's see. Okay, they got lots of lands here. I think I'm going to take that trade. I wouldn't have had they not played a land there, knowing that I could get wastelanded, but I have a chance to be able to potentially recoup my 2 vines here this turn. There's one. Hmm. I'm in a bad spot here, but I do think I'm actually going to wasteland one of their lands here versus their tabernacle. That may be a foolish play, but my opponent has not identified to me that they know the Tabernacle taps for mana at this point, and if I can keep them somehow off casting an initiative creature, it's a really big game for me. Okay, they do know. All right, so let's see what we can do here. I'm not going to pay for the Rootwalla. This game is kind of lost. I have to hit the vines here. Oh, I did. Okay, that's fantastic for me. Very, very lucky. Draw. Seiju's not bad. I don't think my opponent will block here. They likely will take the damage, is my guess. I can only pay for 2. I guess I can pay for 3 of my creatures here. We've stolen the initiative, which doesn't help us in this particular sequence anyways of the dungeon. So we do not have any basics in our deck. But we will play Boseiju. Pretty good turn for us. And now my opponent is at 9 life. They will be able to take the initiative back because I cannot block the Seasoned Dungeoneer. But the likelihood of them being able to put up enough blockers to keep me off of Forge is not likely. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That was definitely their best one. And now they'll be able to move into the trap. So I'm probably losing this game. But I'm doing a lot better than I thought I was by getting those vines back last turn. That was a low probability hit. And they've kept the Solitude there. I'm going to pay for 3 of them. I'm just going to crash them in there. Oops. See what they choose. I expect them to probably kill both my... Oh, they got a swords. Oh, yuck. Okay, that's game. Yeah, nice. Okay. So now we have a better idea what we're dealing with. And indeed, the Force of Vigors were not what we wanted there. I do think we want this to be able to steal the initiative back. But Seiju is definitely not at its best in this type of a matchup. Collector Roof is very good. Hex Drinker is reasonable. I honestly think Caracas is just very mediocre in this matchup. Let's try this. Okay, that's an easy powder. It's a mulligan. Okay, this is a decent hand. If I can find a Collector Roof, that would be solid. I'm going to put one of the red Rootwallas away. I'm not going to play the Lotus first because I want to, if I find a Once Upon a Time, we did. Vine is a little bit awkward there. But I can hard cast the Vengevine next turn, which is something. And of note, the green root walls are hitting pretty hard with the Gaia's Cradle. And we have some Tabernacle insulation with the Black Lotus here. So that's not our best opener, but a solid enough one considering. Yeah, like if this is what they're doing and they have no follow-up, it's huge for me. Okay. Oh, of course, naturally. Displacer, okay. Suboptimal, guys. But this is how we're doing it. If my opponent has a Solitude, there's not much I can do about it. Or Swords, for that matter. But we got to try and win here. Yep. All right. Opponent's down to 3 cards. One land in play, 1 Mox. So we have Tabernacle insulation. Hopefully they just play land pass. Okay. This is solid. What I can do is I can attack with the 2 root wallas, not do anything. Like, they're not going to want to block, almost assuredly. Let's see if they have a priest here. And let's see if they attack in with their displacer. And I can ambush them. So they can bounce me here. They can bounce my guy here, but I think I'll mix my stuff back in. Why not? Yep. So I'm in trouble here now. They are down to 1 card of note. And they just get the Solitude double play here. Huge. Yep, looks like I'm losing here, guys. Problem is the Solitude is a real problem. This is just gaining life, right? I can't even really stop it, but it is what it is. I will double turn here unless they kill my Cradle. I'll have to think about it. But they can remove my my blockers with the displacer. See if they want to go for it or not. Okay. How slick is that, eh? I do think I'm going to spin here. Well, we might have to get a bit lucky here with the Bazaar. Okay, there's one. Can I hit a hollow one or any green creature I can cast, non-Vengevine? There it is, guys. It's really strong. I mean, my opponent can keep burning themselves here and removing my stuff, but that was a pretty strong overture for me. And that Ancient Tomb does cost them life. So we really need to keep our cradle around here. And if they see, they left it here now, and now I can pump. Those are good ones. I would have liked to draw those. Okay. So what happens here? I attack. They're going to go down to 3 life. I guess what they can do is block with their Solitude, kill one of my guys. 3, 4, 5. Like, I think I go with everything, right? Right, so they block the Solitude on the Vengevine, or on one of my Root Wallas. They flash it, killing my Vengevine. They could block the Displacer here, but this would kill them. So I do think I attack with everything, right? Let me make sure I'm not screwing this up, because this is a fairly vital attack. If my opponent uses this Ancient Tomb, and this is presuming that they don't have, you know, another Solitude in hand that they can pitch. Like, I can't really play around that. But given what we know and see in the table right now, and I don't really think waiting benefits me, especially because they gave me this opportunity to have 4 mana on the table to be able to pump my 2 Basking Root Wallas. I attack. They block. Could remove one of these. They could block this, but they have to pay 2 life in order to do this. This would kill them. They could block this. That would put them to 1. They would lose their Displacer, though. Yeah, I'm going in with everything here, guys. There's some things that could go wrong here. But I feel like we just have to try and win here. Okay, that's smart. So they do have some tools here. Yeah, they have the swords, okay. And they stay alive. Yeah, smart. Not much I could do about that. They're down to 2 life, though. Their Ancient Tomb is currently shut off. They can attack in with their Solitude to turn it back on. I do think I'll draw. Root Wall? Okay. I can't do it all, unfortunately. So what happens here? I attack. I go down to 3. Right, they block one. The one I pump, they remove. And that's taking 1. This is not really profitable, right? I attack. They don't have to do anything. Waiting for me to pump. I can knock them down 1 damage. I'm not sure, guys. I am going to be aggressive here. I feel like waiting around does not favor me in this situation. I really have to put my opponent in a position where they're not good. Like if I pump the other one here, they just remove that, eat my Root Walla. So at least I squeeze a damage through this way, and I just have to hope that they're... Yep. So good, right? And now we just have to hope they don't have anything. I strongly considered waiting to try and see with on my Hollow One to see if I could get a Vengevine going, my 2 vines going next turn, but I feel like my opponent is in such a precarious position with this Ancient Tomb. Oh no. Okay. Well, they can't pay for both their creatures. I can. Oh, I should have Bazaar'd there. That was not good. Not going to attack. They can pay for 1. Nice. Okay. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to churn my Bazaars here. I think I have a higher prevalence of being able to do what I need to do. Now that I have a card in hand, I made the mistake last turn. We're not going to double down on it. Wasteland. Okay. Do I spin now? I think I attack with the Hollow One here. They have to get in front of it. They have a Priest. Okay. That's not unforeseen. I could have Wastelanded pre-combat. I kill both of them, right? So Ancient Tomb is back on. They currently have no cards in hand. I feel like taking Tabernacle away and giving myself an opportunity to get these vines going next turn. Like, if they Wasteland me, it's a bit of a bummer, right? I'm just really trying to think here of what I want to do. 2. I can't really stop them from doing anything, so I don't see any reason to wasteland them here. I can't stop them. They can cast whatever they draw, no matter what. Yeah, I mean, this is a good one for sure. The initiative was one of the ways I lose this. That was a good top deck for them. I'm going to kill the Tabernacle here. I think I just draw and cast the Hex Drinker here. Yeah, I think I do. Hex Drinker is really good against my opponent. I still have a chance to get these vines here and win on the spot. That's awkward. Going for it now. Didn't hit. All right. Can't do it. So they get a 5/5 here. They might actually just forge. Or scry, yeah. So now we're slipping away a little bit. That was a gamble, me using the Bazaar there, trying to find the Root Walla. They did find something, unfortunately. Lauren is not too bad. Yep. They can untap. And we're going to churn. We hit a Root Walla, and we have a good chance of casting any green card off the top of our deck minus a Vine. See if we can find a green Root Walla. Hex Drinker will do it. I could send Lauren back to their hand here. Oh, I only have one Vine. I thought I had two. I can take the initiative back. 1, 2. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do it. They have no cards in hand. They're low on life. Yep. I found something. Displacer, yep. They can displace one of my guys here. We're going to Bazaar. What do we want to do, guys? I think I'm going to forge on my Blazing Root Walla. Yep. All right, guys. That was a hard-fought battle against White Initiative. I've always liked that combo of Eldrazi Displacer with the initiative creatures, and certainly it was a display with Solitude there, how really good it is. I think my opponent really had some bad luck with reference to finding some follow-up lands. They never did up until several turns later in the game, and I was able to apply just enough pressure to keep them off of balance. And I like the way we played that game. The only misstep we made was not bazaring our keep one of our turns, but hard to know how consequential that was or not. But that said, guys, we are 2-1, and we just need to win one more to be able to get 20 QPs, which would be a welcome addition and would allow us to at least get into a last chance qualifier in addition to the showcase. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next round. Okay, guys, here we are on round 4 of the Vintage Preliminary, and we are playing Cradlevine. We've run it a Twinless Twin. Solid player. We've definitely had some good matches over the years, and this one is a mulligan. Fortunately, they won the die roll. This, however, is a very nice looking hand. Probably put a Wasteland away. They've kept, and we've kept. Yep. Let's try this out, guys. We've got Force of Vigor up if we need it. Okay, this is either Belcher or this is Jewel, both of which are tough matchups. Okay, my opponent didn't do much. Well, that was a nice draw. Let's see if we can find a Collector Roof here. That would be pretty nifty. And we get Vigor still. That was pretty nice. Finding that second vine. Now, we still could lose from here. Like, Jewel is a pretty gross deck. But they're thinking about whether they want to force this or not. I hope they do. That'd be sweet. Because we still have two turn clock here. Yeah, they identified exactly that. Is there any reason for me to play Black Lotus here? I don't think so. I think I'd rather conceal that. Flusterstorm, maybe. Wish we had a Collector Roof in hand, but... So my opponent could kill me here quite easily. My opponent is not conceding, so I can only presume that they are going to go off here. Let's see how far they can get. Like, can they get through my Force of Vigor is the question. Okay. To me, it's a good start. They could PO as well. Opponent doesn't really have good information on what we're doing. What an interesting line. Because they don't know that I'm on Cradle or whether I'm on the Control version. But we definitely know what they are playing. And I feel much better about how we're gonna approach this here. Yeah, hard to know. Like, do we want a Grafdigger's Cage? I don't think so. Pithing Needle's okay. Endurance, probably not what I want to be doing against this deck. The only feature to consider here is the sneak attack value of being able to steal a jewel. Like, we don't have a creature in play, and we're somehow, got 3 green mana available to be able to cast Endurance, which is low prevalence that something like that would happen. I think we're probably in bad shape if that's what we're trying to use it for. Hexdrinker is pretty low value, other than the fact it's cheaply casted. I think I'll bring in a Pithing Needle, and the reason is I'm going to bring it in for Urza Saga. I think that's probably our best bet here. Collector Roof is our best card against this style of deck. Seems like an easy powder. I mean, it's an interesting one. I shouldn't say easy, because we have an active Force of Vigor against a deck that's quite good against. We have a strip mine for their land, and we don't know what we're going to find off that Once Upon a Time. Now, Benjamin obviously doesn't look good, or Basking Root, Blazing Root if we don't find a Bazaar. So I am going to powder it, but it is noteworthy. This one is also a powder. I'm not thrilled because all my vigors are almost gone here. Another powder. Okay, an awkward one. Okay, we got a PO here. It's a damn nice PO. Disappointing. Yep. Disappointing. Disappointing, guys. But I mean, what are you going to do? That's risky. I mean, we have the tools to be able to combat those type of starts from my opponent. Hopefully we can apply some pressure with this vine here and find some ability to interact here. Like, if I could somehow get Collector Roof into play, that would be... Oh, wow, what's this? Jesus. No, that's really hard on me. I think we're probably dead. If they PO here again, it's probably we're just done. May as well get a bit of information here. Are they going to drop a jewel? I'm fairly confident this is just jewel shops. Or call it PO shops or whatever you'd like to do. I mean, it's obvious I have no interaction here. I may as well have 6. There's nothing I can do. They know I would have stopped them long ago from this this happening if I had the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. Okay, they can just flicker. All right. From a content perspective, I mean, we maybe could have gone a little bit longer, but I don't really think that that's what I want to be doing. Okay, I like where we're at, guys. I realize the Bloodghast is a little suspect, but there is some possibility where I pressure my opponent under 10 life and, that card ends up in my yard somehow, and, any land off the top can allow it to steal a jewel or something like that. And, of course, it can just apply pressure. I have a lot of lands in my deck at 18 here. A bit of an awkward hand. But we've got, we're going to see a whole bunch of cards here. And hopefully we can set ourselves up in a position where we do have some interaction on turn one. Like, I would love to bazaar into something like, well, first we're going to Once Upon a Time. And I mean, you know, Benjamin, I'd be happy with a Collector Roof that we could potentially cast on turn two. Definitely looking for a Mind Break Trap off of the bazaar here. This hand has currently, as we said, a failure rate to it, but you know, these decks that my opponent play are they're finicky. Like, I mean, you don't always have an explosive turn one. It requires setup, and they quite often have to pass the turn. So that gives me some hope. But we definitely need some help on this hand. The good news is we were able to keep 7. Put the bazaar back here so we don't by accident click on the other lands that are a similar color by accident. Double hollow one's nice. If we find a Force of Vigor, we have the Once Upon a Time to use it. Yeah, we're going to get some pressure going. Let's see what we can do. Unfortunately, we didn't do too well off the top there, guys. I'm going to keep the Yavimaya in case I top deck a Collector Roof and they play a Tabernacle and our creatures die. That way we can cast a Collector Roof off the top should we find one. I'm not keen to keep the Once Upon a Time. I also would like the Cradle as well, right? I'm getting rid of the Cradle of Growth there against my better judgment. And hopefully we don't get roasted here with a turn 1 killer, a Tabernacle. It's a lot to ask. I didn't notice there, but it appears my opponent mulliganed, which is a bonus we will take. And boy, do I hope we find a Collector Roof here. Okay, well, they've given us an opportunity here. Force of Vigor would be so good here. If I could just bait with that on top and strip mine in the least, but well, I think we spin here. Not great. I'm going to strip mine them here. It's awkward. I really, we really just needed to do better on that, on those draws. That's the problem. Now, I can kill my opponent next turn. Basically, we need to fade a Tabernacle here. We just lose the game automatically if they have a Tabernacle. Well, that's not true, but we're in really bad shape against a combo deck with a top in play. And we also need them to not go off. So let's see what they're doing here. If they're spinning the top, I feel pretty good about that. Not to say that this is not really scary, but okay, time walk. Yep. All right. Well, I mean, they can jewel me here. Which is very, very bad for me if they have it. They have 4 cards in hand. Okay. Yep. Okay, they got Metamorph, unfortunately. Damn. Yeah, this is probably Spiral too far. Just like we had a Found a Collector Roof there. Um, this deck is just dead if it resolves. But anyways, my opponent has to be able to go off here, and otherwise they're dead. So it's just a bad spot for me because my opponent is very likely to have the tools they need here to be able to finish this off. But we'll see. This feels like a PO. Like even a Mindbreak Trap. Okay, that's not the worst, right? Like, see what they draw. They played their land for turn. We're no longer surprising my opponent with a kill because they use the Metamorph. They put lethal on the table, which is a little worse for us, hoping my opponent would feel a little more secure in passing the turn. They do have to go for it here. Currently 1 mana short of another PO. Got Tinker. No, another Metamorph. Of course, we knew they had the Metamorph. Yep. Damn. Another PO. Or Kitten's just game if they have the Kitten. Okay, that's the better of the two for me. I drew 3 cards off that one. Let's see. If they play a kitten and pass, I still have lethal. So that would be a surprise because of the Gaia's Cradle. I'm not sure if my opponent's double queued here or they're really contemplating their line. If they're really thinking about it, that to me is good for me because they don't have a straight line to a victory. And this deck is pretty straightforward. All right, so we got it. So my opponent never was unable to continue on with their gameplay there. And as I say, Coveted Jewel does have a failure rate to it. And that is an improbable failure, what we saw from my opponent there. They just drew the wrong cards and they couldn't stop the lethal coming at them. They were unable to continue. But my opponent did string together there. They must have drawn somewhere in the vicinity of 15 cards, would be my guess. So I would not say I have a... Oh, that would have been so magnificent to have there for sure. Even the Beseiju would have been nice. I guess it wouldn't have mattered in this particular turn, but I feel like this deck that we're playing has really good chops against a deck like this. We just did not have the right tools that particular game. We had the Bazaar, and we were going to see 8 cards, right? With the Once Upon a Time seeing 5 and our draw with the 2 Bazaar cards to find some of the tools that we were looking for, which was some mixture of a Collector Roof, Mind Break Trap, Force of Vigor were the cards we were after, and with the redundancy in this deck, very high probability that we were going to see 1 or 2 of those cards. Never saw any of them. Therefore, it put us in the vulnerable position of no interaction in our hand whatsoever. And any type of that interaction could have been good enough to steal the game on its own. But anyways, guys, that said, Jewel Shots is an incredibly explosive deck, and we got very lucky to be able to win that particular match. But once again, we will take it. Despite we really only went 2-1 in matches, we did win the bye, so we got a 3-1 for 20 QPs. So pleased with that. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you so much for hanging out. It's a pleasure. Feel free to leave any comments. I will get back to you. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we're going to see you next.